The surprise are in the sky, standing in my way. Why, oh why? Always asking why. Needs to know what's going on. Under pressure, proving his existence, losing confidence, filling holes with anything but consciousness about himself. Greed is taking over for spectacular events. Information for the mind is stirring to the body.
Welcome to the Cosmic Reality Radio Show, where our hearts are our masters. Your hosts are NPL Hopkins and Walt Silva. Producing the show is Colleen Kelly. The theme song is called Disturbance and is written and performed by Renate Jet and Jet Music.
You're listening to Haggy Shack Radio at haggyshack.com. Simulcast with Cosmic Reality Radio on CosmicReality.net.
All righty then.
Okay, I learned something. Can you hold on 1 second?
I sure can. First, Dolly's computer crashed this morning, so Walt's been helping her with that much of the day.
I wish...
Can't...
I know.
Huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. I said hold on a second. I had to turn the fish tank off.
That's okay. I was just talking.
Oh, okay. I wish I could talk to my fish. I don't know if I make them crazy turning it on and off like I do, but I just can't seem to talk to the fish.
You can talk to them. You just don't know if they're listening.
Well, this is true. I can't hear them, but anyway, so Walt's not going to be here because he's not feeling well, and I don't know if that has anything to do with the fact he's been with Dolly all day. Poor Dolly had computer problems, and so that's why she was not on earlier. We had to do Colleen had to do a replay, because she couldn't get the computer working, and Walt was in there. I don't even know if he must have left it by now. I hope she's okay. But in the meantime, he's not feeling good, and, he's got that goose, Gandhi, and, it's not doing good for some, I don't know, he didn't say what was happening, but, he's Gordy, I'm sorry. Was Gordy? Wait a minute, what did I say? Wait a minute.
Gandhi is what you said.
Gandhi. No, Gordy. His name is Gordy. I always want to call him Gandhi, but it's Gordy. His goose is not feeling good. So, I wouldn't even know how to go about helping a goose. Oh, geez. There's so many things out there that can make a day suck.
Yes, and, I got a notice that I need to upgrade my Shoutcast version 2 to something else, and you have to log in to figure out how to do that, and it won't let me log in. So I've been fighting with that. And then Time, who's been working on the website, is having trouble because it's not wanting to, she makes the changes, she can see the changes, but when she goes to the page, they're not there. And it won't let her scroll or do anything like that. So we're just all, as she says, eating compassion pie rather than pulling our hair out. And, I said that I was dumping rum on that compassion pie and then gonna throw it into a blender and make smoothies.
At least you're keeping your sense of humor. Oh boy. Those things are just, there's nothing you can do about it except try to work through them. Sometimes I just walk away and let them fix themselves when it's website stuff.
Yeah, well, she had an issue and she wrote to the techs. This was a couple days ago, and the tech wrote back and said, well, you have to buy this app and that'll maybe fix the problem. I'm like, what? You have to buy an app to fix their program?
Oh, wow, I don't like that.
Oh, hell no. That's kind of like a Windows sort of thing,
Okay, who we're talking about is Weebly, alright? And Weebly has been absolutely a godsend. I mean, one time my site was attacked. I had been working on it for 4 hours. I go back and nothing's there. And in 24 hours, they were able to get the site back up. I have been impressed with their support. But to hear that she got that reply in any way, shape, or form is unnerving, because you never know when somebody who you really like gets taken over by somebody else, and then all of a sudden you're confronting problems. I hope that's not what it is. Jeez.
Me too, because I'm like, that's a crock of crap. That's like, you buy Windows 10 now, but then all the programs that used to be free with the expense of the program itself, now you get a free trial, but now you have to pay for each program that you've used all these years, and you're like, what the hell is this about?
Money.
Yeah. It's like, man, they just want to take every dime out of your pocket and gobble it up, and you go, well, look, I only get this much a month, and they're going like, yeah, well, so what, I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, it's like, well, I was here from the beginning. I mean, you probably were too, because your dad was building them when you were still young, right?
No, Dad didn't learn how to build computers till he was 70.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
But I've been using them since, early 90s?
Yeah. It'd be 90s, probably.
The personal, when they still had, everything was a telephone.
Dial-up.
Yeah, and you...
AOL?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, my first website was in 1992, and it was an AOL website. So, the amount of changes, the amount of technology, I mean, it's astounding. It truly is that we can sit here and have these conversations. Heck, we could look at each other if we wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
It's, but we are completely at their mercy.
Yeah. They turn you into addicts and then charge you for the cures. And the cure is more and more and more of their stuff.
I know. Oh my gosh. Well, what are you gonna do? You gotta, we're trying to play the game, so, we deal with what we have. To me, it's like they got the game board. They got the rules of the game, they've set it up, and, we've just gotta learn how to change the rules somehow. So, I don't know. I seriously I was almost had a guest, and then I almost had a co-host, and I looked at something that was really kind of, it was in the Fulford report, Ben Fulford, because Walt and I look at it, it at least gives us something to talk about. And he was talking about China. Let me just pull that up, because it was, what he's saying is that, the Republic of the United States of America. He's talking about the fact that, there is a corporation, and he's going through, I'm not going to put you through it, Colleen, about how Trump seems to realize that the Republic is, not in control, it's this corporation. But in discussing this, he began to say the Republic of the United States of America. So he's saying the Republic of the United States of America has agreed to support a Chinese concept of a human community with a shared destiny. Human community with a shared destiny.
What the hell's that mean?
Well, that's exactly what I said. this Chinese idea was accepted by unanimous vote last week at the United Nations Security Council. Okay, so I started to look this thing up, and let me see, which one was the one that seemed to get it the best. I think it's this one. Okay. This is from, what the heck is this? Pakistan Observer. Okay, it's a Pakistan Observer. It's a newspaper thing over Beijing. They're talking about they have a correspondent in Beijing, and this is what he's saying, and it corresponds to what I read in other documents, but this was a little bit more. The Chinese concept of building a human community with shared destiny was incorporated into a UN Security Council resolution for the first time, mirroring the global recognition of China's great contributions to global governance. Now, right off the bat, I went, huh? What? Mirroring the global recognition of China's great contributions to the global governance. Am I in the same world? It was like, when did this happen? So then it goes on. Also included in this newly adopted council resolution was China's Belt and Road Initiative, which aims to build a trade and infrastructure network connecting Asia with Europe and Africa along the ancient trade routes, they said. In a unanimous adopted resolution to renew the mandate of the UN-assisted mission in Afghanistan for 1 year, the 15-nation UN body urged to promote security and stability in Afghanistan and the region to create a community of shared future for mankind. Now, in this document, they must have said that same thing. The community of shared future for mankind at least over a dozen times. All right, so I'm almost like going like, this is a little bit kind of mind control-ish, they're really pushing this concept.
New world order, but they're going around the U.S., it sounds like.
I don't know. This is why it got so strange to me. A human community with shared destiny is what we're after, okay? Okay, now, let me see, where is this? Okay, since China first proposed the concept in late 2012, it has gone on to shape China's approach to global governance, giving rise to proposals and measures to support growth for all. In the same resolution, the Council welcomes and urges further efforts to strengthen the process of regional economic cooperation, including measures to facilitate regional connectivity, trade and transit, including through regional development initiatives such as the Silk Road Economic Belt, and they list a few others. The permanent representative to the United States, whose name I'm not even going to try, told reporters that the Chinese concept was put into the Security Council resolution for the first time, showing the consensus of the international community on embracing the concept and manifesting huge Chinese contributions to the global governance. The Chinese envoy said the latest council move is conducive to creating a favorable atmosphere for China to host a Belt and Road Forum for international cooperation in Beijing. This is something they're going to have in May in order to brainstorm on this interconnected development. Now, what Fulford was saying about this is that, first off, it happened, okay? And that the Chinese have been given a green light to go ahead with massive infrastructure plans aimed at making the world more interconnected. As a part of this, the Republic of the USA is ending all support for military activities in places like Africa and the Middle East, aimed at disrupting Chinese infrastructure work, the Pentagon sources say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this will mean replenishing the oceans and fish and restoring rainforests. I mean, what they're saying here sounds really hopeful. But as I went through looking over this, maybe I'm getting a little bit too pessimistic. You know, it was like, I don't know, I'm not sure this is a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, you have years of experience of reading, between the lines.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause they always say, well, you know, this is for your own good, or, you know, for everybody's best good. And there's these benefits and blah, 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 that we never see. But the corporations and the government officials always seem to benefit. But this shared destiny seems to exclude the regular people.
Well, I know that China has been very, very active in Africa. There were many reports of them building up the infrastructure of a given, you know, I don't remember the specific nations, not that it would matter because I don't really know these specific nations. I hate to say it in Africa. But the people who were against China said, well, they're just doing that so that they can build up the infrastructure so they can raid the natural resources of the African nations.
Yes.
But the African nations are saying, well, at least you're building up our infrastructure.
But okay, they're building up the infrastructure.
Right.
Okay. They put in the pipelines and all that kind of stuff. Often they're tearing down the rainforests and the natural land that all the animals, you know, go to for protection and all that stuff. Because as they build infrastructure, they destroy the natural habitat that the animals live in. And there's this thing, well, you know, they're creating jobs. You know, there's going to be more jobs. Well, we don't see that either. And if they are, they're not good paying jobs. And I think that and people are worried about jobs, making money, being able to survive, and I understand that. But at what price is what I look at. You know, if we regular, common sort of people can figure out a way to make a decent living and not be a part of all of that crap, that'd be great. Because in this whole colonialization, and civilization and all of that kind of stuff, we're doing a whole lot of damage. And the jobs, to me, aren't going to do much good if your water and your land and everything and your air is crap. That's what I keep going back to, is there's got to be smart ways of doing this that includes everyone when you're considering the ramifications of everything, instead of pushing all the important stuff out of the way and saying, look, we're creating jobs and we got this great corporation and yeah, you gotta sleep in the factory, you know, and stuff, and you don't get to go home but once a year, but hey, you got a job.
Well, it did make me think about, what's his name? The economic assassin, John. Oh, shoot.
I know his name too, and I can see his face, but I'll be darned. Yeah. Let me type it
anyway, in. He's the man who... Economic assassin. And he was the one, I still am amazed that he survived, but he wrote a book of that title and discussed his role in gaining control on a world... Perkins, thank you. Gaining control on a worldwide basis, by using it was an economic, plan to subjugate given countries. So what they would do is they would go in and they would say, look we will give you the money to build up your infrastructure, once you have your infrastructure built up, then the economy will follow. And so a sane person is going to say, well, that doesn't exactly make sense. If I don't have an economy that needs the infrastructure, I don't have the goods traveling all over the country because it's just not that kind of a place. I don't need the infrastructure. I don't need an infrastructure that is 100 times more than what I need. Why would I go into debt building something that I don't need? At that point, the leaders of the country were either threatened into submission or died in airplane crashes. Mm-hmm. And he named names and said, who got burnt in an airplane crash. It was in your face, very brutal in many ways, the way that they went about this. Mm-hmm. So, what would happen is that, of course, they'd go in and they would build the infrastructure, but in some cases. And that infrastructure that was being built by the very companies that are part of the banking, the international, corporation/financial environment, institution, system, whatever we want to call it. And so they would build this stuff and then they would say to the nation, well, you owe us all this money and you better give it to us right now. But there was no economy. You had the infrastructure, but still the economy isn't there. So they were able to take over and control different countries by attacking them from an economic standpoint. And when I first saw this situation in Africa starting up, with the Chinese seeming to be very interested in building up Africa, I wondered if it was the same thing. Is this again a ploy by a country in order to try to control other countries and their natural resources?
It would be interesting to see how much stock in oil companies China actually owns.
I don't know. I don't know that much about what they're doing. I mean, it was never a country that I had a tremendous amount of interest in, to be honest. It wasn't something that I was drawn to. But now you look and you go, now first off, I don't trust the UN either. Mm-hmm. So what is this about? If Fulford hadn't have mentioned it, and he kind of mentions it in passing, I don't remember him talking about this before, I wouldn't have even given it a second look. But the fact that he seems to think that this is an important thing, I'm not sure what that means. Because again, Ben Fulford just kind of throws facts on the table, or semi-facts. There was something that he said.
The facts.
Yeah, there was something that he said in this last one that he gave a reference to, and I looked at the reference and I could not see it supporting what he had said. So, and which has happened before. So I'm not sure about Ben Fulford either. Mm-hmm. But, it's just, when you get to a point where you really, it was one thing to wake up and say, well, the mass media is lying to us. Now, all you had to do was watch enough of it. When it really became crystal clear to me was over the Malaysian plane that disappeared. It was when I had a job that was paying me basically to be on Facebook. I didn't have that much to do, which is why the place closed. But, I did get an awful lot of research in during that time. And what I found, and at that time I was 80% of my time, the, television was on, which was on 24/7 almost. It was on news. And I just became fascinated with this search, this massive worldwide focus on this missing plane. And listening to the commentaries, I started to go from news site to news site and realized that they were all saying the same thing. There was no even pretend. It was all the same stuff that they kept saying. And all these authorities, different authorities. But then on Facebook, there's a posting, and this guy says, does anybody know about this place called, Del Garcia, what was it? Oh, geez. It's a small island that was actually taken away from the British. in order to make this American military base. And the military base itself is a staging area for all of the air activity and the supply activity in, Afghanistan, Iraq, the whole area. So it's something that is, the space shuttle had it as a backup landing site. So it's something that people should have been aware of if you're an authority, and the fact that you've got one of the biggest American military bases in the world in the same area that this plane disappears in, with all of its radar capability. Oh, come on, you telling me they didn't see this thing?
Yeah, it kind of reminds you of, when they were trying to find Saddam Hussein, they couldn't find him. I'm like, oh, bullshit. We've got all these spies and the CIA and the FBI and all those agencies, and they don't know where he's at. I'm like, please, they can pinpoint you from outer space. But it's the same, huh?
Are you talking about Hussein or are you talking about Bin Laden?
Bin Laden, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
I'm like, please. And isn't this also the same plane that had all of those, I think they were Chinese, techie guys, very intelligent scientist, kinda computer whiz guys that were on that plane that got lost?
Yes, well, but they weren't Chinese people, they were Americans. And they were from someplace in Texas. Now, there might have been Chinese people, too, but they were someplace in Texas. And that led into the Carlisle group. Somehow or another, I remember it was like, what in the heck? And I did feel that those people were the reason this plane disappeared. There was half a dozen or more of these very, like you say, high-level techie people that suddenly disappear. But, well, my point before we sort of go into something else there, but my point is, why was it that none of these mass media people knew about Garcia, what the heck is the name of that place? They didn't know about this island. Why didn't they know about this island? Why was it never brought up? Why did it take somebody who's looking at maps in the area and says, what's this thing? And then starts looking at it and finds out what it is. And it's all, it was open source. And not only that,
they don't do their research. They just read scripts that are handed to them, by the corporations that own all the media.
Right. And as soon as I saw what was happening there, I said, well, that was the thing that made me really begin to say, no, I'm not going to listen to this anymore. Because I would look at it, not because I believed it, I would look at it to try to figure out what it was they were telling the American people. It was more of trying to get a feeling for what is it you want us to think. And after that, the experience, it was like, I can't even put up with this shit anymore. It's just too much. And the weird, now it got even weirder because, there was a picture that came out. It was a satellite. Of course, now, the real conspiracy buffs like me, we started really looking at this place. And people were finding that, okay, they started looking at the maps, Google Earth. And by gosh, when you look at this island off in the harbor, it started out with a harbor. And one guy says, hey, you guys look at this picture. Doesn't this look like there's something under the water? Like the harbor has underwater installations? And I have to say that it sure did look like that to me. But then the next day somebody else comes back and said, pan out a little more to the east. To the east. And when you did that, when you moved away, you looked at the Google Earth, but you're now focused on a little bit to the east of the island, it looked like there was a massive amount of underwater facilities to the east of the island.
Which is why it wasn't mentioned in the news.
Yeah. And so then there was this picture, and it was taken from a cell phone, and it was black. I mean, there was no imaging on it. But it gave apparently a GPS coordinate and a date-time stamp. And it just I never could figure out who got this picture to begin with. Okay, it just never seemed to, either I couldn't find it or it didn't come up, I don't know. But the picture, the camera was actually belonged to one of the people that were on the plane. And the coordinate was that island.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was days after the thing had disappeared. You know?
You know, my mind goes back to the TV series, The Event. You know, where the plane's coming in and it's going to crash into the White House and then it just disappears and winds up in Arizona minutes later.
Yep.
It makes me think, because that whole TV series was fascinating in itself. And I think that it gave insight into what really goes on up in there and in our government and such. But it also makes me look at other things in a whole different light. These so-called events that are going on around the world that are, I don't know if they're holograms, you know, or what the hell they are, but it sure makes me, anyway, look at things just a little bit differently. And like you said, you know, maybe you're, well, I'm going to say a little more skeptical. The older I get, the more suspicious I am with news that comes out. You know, I want to know, okay, what's the purpose of putting this out there? And how does that compare with other news? That's, you know, you learn to read between the lines a little bit better than swallowing the whole story, the whole pill, all at once.
Well, unless it's really good satire. They have caught me on those satire ones.
Oh, yeah, and there's some really, really good ones. And the thing is, you know, since they, up in Washington somewhere, decided, you know, that the news can be fake, they don't have to tell you the truth, which does away with the whole news thing, in my opinion. You know, just like the labels on your food, they can lie, and that's okay. That's perfectly legal now. And you're like, what the hell is there that you can trust in besides yourself? And even then, you have to question yourself. And maybe that's the whole purpose behind all this stuff, is just to make you not be able to trust your own instincts, your own perceptions about things. It's just crazy.
To show you how screwed up the world is, I actually study TV shows because I think there's more truth in the fictional TV shows than there is on mass media.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the show you talked about, The Event, wasn't that the one where they had captured the ETs and they were up in
Antarctica?
Someplace up north, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
or Alaska.
Was it Alaska?
Alaska?
Yeah, I think it's Alaska. They were imprisoned in Alaska. And so the show sort of is about how these people get out and stuff and how they connect with their place, their world, you know, and it was one of those, like, it really was well done. Got you thinking.
Kept you riveted.
Yeah, you know, and every episode gave you another piece of the puzzle, and then they were doing, I can't even remember the full implications of it, but in the last show, the show that is now canceled, in the last show, you see this other worlds starting to be seen right here in the solar system on top of us. Do you remember that?
I'm trying to think. I watched all of that, and I guess I got kind of stuck where they came out with the First Lady as an E.T.?
Oh God, I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah. I was like, what? What?
Well, you may have not remembered the end because it was a severe disappointment in that it was like, oh my God. I mean, here they've got the home planet is starting to come through a vortex. I mean, like right on top of us, and they end the show.
Yeah.
You know, and it was so disappointing to me that one of two things happened. Either you remember why you were disappointed or you just wipe it out because it was such a disappointment. I don't want to think about the fact that they ended it that way.
I was just disappointed that it ended because, you know, it was just, they did this huge build-up, you know, episode after episode after episode, then had that final one and then canceled the show due to lack of interest. That's the only show I watched at that time. You know, oh my gosh, it's such and such time, and run into the TV. Everybody be quiet now because I'm going to watch this. I want to hear it. You know? And then, boof, it's gone. Like, ah.
Well, then they had, I mean, because they did a whole series of them. And, they would, you know, you'd go, oh my gosh. There was the one, and I don't remember the name of it, but it was the one where in a single instant, everything stopped. Planes crashed and, you know, like there was this stoppage of time. And then something happened that they saw the future in this stoppage of time. Certain people saw it. And then it goes back to when the moments after this collapse had, but these people had all this information about what was about to happen. That was another one that was so well done. And you get so engrossed in it. And then boom, they canceled it. There was another one, and it was about an entity that again is off-planet entity apparently, that was like an AI that was talking to kids and would get kids to do things they shouldn't have done. Like one girl was responsible for her mother being in a bad accident. She fell from a treehouse basically. And it was traveling the electromagnetic lines. That one was a mind bender. It was just like, oh my God, every week it was like, oh, I can't believe this. The characters were great, and again, canceled. Boom. You know, and it was one of those things that it could have easily gone on, but I got to the point where I thought, either the people who are creating these, the creative minds behind it, are tapping into some unconscious collective knowledge of what really is happening. And then they get it on air, and then the powers that be go, oh my gosh, they're telling the truth here. We gotta stop this. Or somebody is putting that out for us to see how we react maybe.
Or to tell us what's going on without telling us what's going on. Because, you know, there's those that say, well, they have to tell you what they're doing. They don't have to do it in a way that you believe it, but they have to tell you. So, you know, and all these things run through my mind when I watch stuff like that.
Me too. Yeah. Well, what it seems to be that before you can do bad to somebody, you have to have their permission to do it. So the bad guy said, well, if they don't say no, we have permission to do it. Well, that doesn't seem to be the law, you know, the intent of the law. But anyway, that's what they've been getting away with. So they don't tell you exactly that they're asking you a question. They present you with a movie and say, how would you react to this? Mm-hmm. Be your decision. You know, the one that's got me perplexed right now is Humans. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of what, it's on one of the AMC or something like that. It's British. Mm-hmm. I do have a problem with the British accent. Sometimes I don't understand some of the characters. But are you watching that? Have you watched any of it?
I've watched, I think 2 seasons. I can't remember now if I watched it on Amazon.com because I have a yearly subscription to that. And you're right. It is absolutely fascinating, these synthetic beings who have a consciousness. Which scares the crap out of humans.
Well, not all humans. And this is where it got, I mean, when they first started up, they just finished, they just did the 2-hour conclusion of the second season last night. And in the first year, what you were introduced to a group, like I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 of them, who were created by this master crazy kind of scientist. One of them was his son. His son had died, and somehow or another he was able to re-energize the guy using part of the synthetic matrix that he understood. So his son, even though he's designated as being dead by the legal courts, is actually alive, but only part human, in that he's had a lot of this stuff in him. The reason that the guy could do this was because he had already worked on creating these, well, they're androids. They're like Data in Star Trek. And they are designed to do certain jobs. I mean, that was, in this society, is only a few years off in the way they're presenting it. And so they do these jobs, these menial kind of jobs in most cases. But in one case, they had one of these beings as a doctor, a psychologist, talking to 2 of the main characters, about things. And I'm going like, well, this is really strange. But that's kind of the way I sometimes think of these psychologists. So it kind of worked with me.
I think it was interesting in that what created the consciousness was he put in like 900 pages of code, computer codes, and that created consciousness.
Yes, and that didn't really come out until the second season. All you knew was that these people seemed to have consciousness, seemed to have empathy, seemed to have compassion, seemed to be able to love. And even though they were machines, I found myself being drawn to them, that I really cared about these characters. And the humans that were interacting with them, I mean, some of these people were like their maid. When they started realizing that they were conscious, the husband was like, kind of like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to even think about this, I want to take care of my family, I don't want this. But the wife plays the role of somebody who is compassionate for any sentient being.
Although she was jealous.
Well, he slept with
Well, she was kind of jealous before that. Because she was against having...
Oh, that's right.
This maid, this synthetic, and she was off doing something for a couple of weeks, and he got this maid, and of course she was attractive. And then he went crazy and had sex with her. And then the son got blamed for it because it was in her programming. That's how they discovered it. Someone had put in a password accessing her sexuality.
Well, it came in the instruction manual for them.
Yeah, there was like a disk you put in or something, but you had to put in the password. And the son got blamed and was thought a pervert for a little bit for having sex with a synthetic. And he was going to take the blame when he realized it was his dad that did it. And then the wife found out that the son didn't do it, that the dad had done it, and now he's like on the outs.
Well, the dad did confess. I mean, he's not a bad...
Yeah, finally.
When he was forced to it and he didn't have any other option. Yeah, he did.
He packs of diapers and that pretty much...
Apparently we're on a shopping mission. That's Carrie. Cause Colleen's got a brand new great-granddaughter, and that was her daughter, who's a grandmother now. And, we know that children dominate even radio. So I'm just covering while Colleen gives I don't know what they're doing. I'm sort of here by myself.
All right, I'm here.
All right, there you go. How is Rosalie?
She's fine. She had another doctor appointment. They see him every week now. Used to, you didn't have to wait, you didn't have to take her to the doctor until they were.
8 pounds, 9 ounces.
Oh, she's 8 pounds, 9 ounces.
Well, good for that little baby. Do what? Healthy. Oh, nice.
So such a good disposition this baby has.
Does she? Yeah. She's happy to be here?
Oh yeah, I've never seen a baby with patience. Cause Jade breastfeeds, but she pumps it as well so that she can get rest and we can feed the baby. And while you're warming up the breast milk, I take my coffee pot. I just use it for water and make 1 cup at a time of coffee. Just pour it through a drip thingy. So I keep the coffee pot full of hot water. And when we go to warm up the baby bottle, we just put it down in a container and pour hot water in the container to warm it up instead of, trying to put it in a microwave or anything like that.
Don't put it in the microwave. You'll have nothing left to give the child.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why I do it this way. Or we do. But, I'm
just telling all those moms that don't realize that when they do that, they absolutely destroy everything that's of any nutritional value.
Right. And the body no longer sees it as food. But, a lot of babies, if they're hungry and you're fixing the bottle, they're screaming their heads off, whether you're holding them or not. I hold her and do all this other stuff with my other hand, and she just is quiet and looks around the kitchen and watches what you're doing. She's like, 2 weeks old now. So I'm just like, this is so cool. She doesn't drive you crazy with the screaming.
Do you feel that she's got something going for her that maybe your kids didn't? Do you feel like she's advanced? Extra DNA or something?
I don't know if it's extra DNA or maybe she didn't wait a long time between lives to come back, or just an old soul that looks at all of us like we're all weird. But she's really different than a lot of the babies. Even, I had my first grandbaby. When she was born and the nurse handed her to me, she braced her feet on my arm and just stood. And when the nurse walked by, she followed her with her head, just her eyes, just because they say, babies don't see well at first and it takes quite a while for their eyes to adjust and blah, blah, blah. And that she wasn't. She was like, boom, ready to go. And, with Rosalie, she's just different. I can't explain it. Her eyes, she looks to me like a very serious baby. Very observant. She's already trying to push herself up, on her arms, if you lay her on her stomach. I don't know. Just these babies today are different. That's all I know.
I've seen them get more and more different. I mean, I didn't have any children of my own, but I had 9 brothers and sisters. And so you get to know what a kid's supposed to look like at a given age. And they don't look like that when they're born. I mean, they look like they're weeks older than what I remember. Mm-hmm. When they were first born. I mean, are they in there? Is anybody home? And now they look at you And it's like you say, you know, they have a way of looking at you that you feel like they're looking right inside your soul.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty amazing.
I was holding her the other day, and one of Carrie's friends come over, and I was holding Rosalie and talking to her, and she said, "Wow, you guys have one strong connection."
So she could even see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I said, "What makes you say that?" She said, "Just the way she looks at you." You know, I'm like, wow. This gal doesn't come over very often, maybe once every, 3 or 4 months or something like that.
Well, you're so blessed, really. I mean, just to be able to sit there and watch this child, and from your perspective too. I mean, when you sit back and you're the great grandmother.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, no, there's 2 of you between me and her.
Well, when your daughter is a grandma, you go, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Does Carrie see herself that way, or is she fighting it?
No, I think she does, you know. And I know, because when I was first a grandma, it was, every time I'd say, you know, come to grandma, I just kind of go like, you know. But, I think she's adjusted quite well. It's harder for me, I think.
And how's the mom doing? I mean, she didn't have any problem. Well, she didn't take any painkillers, so she probably came out of it a little better than some people.
Oh, yeah, and, you know, they don't do all the cutting on you down there like they used to.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And, Jade had a little bit of surface tear, that's it. And she didn't ask for anything for pain until, like, towards the end, and they said, hey, you're too far along. So they only gave her half of a shot. That's all she had. So I was amazed. You know, I think, you know, when they're young, you go, oh my gosh, how are they going to do this? You know, because they get a little cut on their finger and they're still wanting you to kiss their boo-boo. So how the heck she going to do this? But she did real well. She's kind of spoiling the baby because I don't think the baby's been in her bassinet for at least 4 days. At least. I'm like, oh, girl, you better be prepared to take that child everywhere you go.
Oh.
You're not leaving her with great grandma and she's missing mama, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Now, what are the cats and dogs thinking of this?
Oh, all the cats had to, when she was in her bassinet, when she first got home, had to jump up there and check her out. Sugar licked her on the head.
Oh.
You know, but Sugar's jealous.
Jealous? You can tell that the cat's jealous of the baby?
That's the dog.
Oh, the dog. The dog jumped up and, oh my.
Yeah, licked her on the head. But see, Sugar's jealous of any other attention.
Yeah.
When Diesel was here, she would be jealous of him, even though she loved him and they played a lot. If you petted him, you had to pet her. And vice versa. If you petted her, he'd get in between you and kind of nudge her out of the way. And Sugar's kind of jealous that way a bit too. And the cats have probably, you know, just kind of, you got a baby. You know, no big deal. I'm going back out and eat.
As long as it doesn't eat my food, I'm all right with it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, my dog, Shiloh, he's been barking, and, you know, I'm going like, what is the matter with you? Why are you doing this? Well, it turns out that they got kids in the next door. I don't know if they're people that moved in with kids or whether the grandkids have suddenly shown up. But he's out there barking, and I'm like, what is the matter? I don't know what these things are. You know? And they were coming over to the fence. You know, and it's like he doesn't know children. So it was like, what are these things? Oh, you're getting too close to my fence. Get away from my fence. It was hard to explain to them that they're just little people. They'll be all right.
Yeah.
But, you know, animals have their way of looking at life. We're coming to the top of the hour, thankfully.
Yes, I was just going to say.
So why don't we take a break, and we'll be back in...
This is 3.5 minutes.
Okay, we'll be right back. Thank you.
Alrighty, and we are live again.
Again live. Excellent.
Reincarnation.
Okay. What I want to go back to humans, because to me it really it's got so many things going through it. But we were talking about how some people could see this consciousness, and I mean they're acting like regular human beings, but they're machines. And so the question does become one of, what is this consciousness? And it really got into it in the second season, in that you start to realize it's all programming. The girl who's the daughter of the couple we're talking about, whose names I don't ever remember names, she somehow or another, I lost this, how she managed to get a hold of this program to begin with, and then she tweaked it. She did some tweaking to it, so that when she could download it into one of these synthetic beings, they would get the consciousness. And that threw things into a different light, because when the season ended last year, I was, having this conflict in myself, in that I'm liking these people, even though they're machines. What's the concept of soul in this? What's the concept of consciousness in this? Which we have actually discussed on many shows. What is this stuff we call consciousness? And this time around, it was programming. I highly recommend anybody out there go look at this show, because it will just make you really think in terms of AI, artificial intelligence, consciousness, soul. Where is it? What is it? I don't want to tell you that, give you the juicy parts of what happened with this thing, but it just is something that I find intriguing, and probably something that's kind of one of those implicit questions that we don't know we're being asked. Colleen, what I'm saying?
I'm not sure.
Well, I think we're being presented with a question, if something doesn't have a soul, and it has sentience, is it different than somebody who has sentience and a soul? Is there a soul? I mean, is it biologically that we just happen to be programmed with something that gives us sentience and consciousness? Is it some biological programming? Is there nothing out there that lives beyond these people? See, that's the thing, is you don't know when they die. Is there any kind of life after they die? It presents a lot of really kind of intriguing thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
I'm getting that echo again.
You are?
Yep.
I haven't changed a thing. I'm not hearing it.
Strange.
Is it my echo or yours when you're talking?
When I talk, okay, I'm not hearing it now.
My fear is that we're being asked a question here. Which way are you gonna go?
Yeah.
Which way,
I had the same. If they have consciousness, and it's a computer program, then where does the soul fit in all that? Because I thought, the consciousness was part of that soul. now, and then you get into the lower soul, the higher soul, and all that kind of stuff. Maybe it takes twice as many pages for higher soul, I don't know. But yeah, those questions arose as well. And I think the very fact that we are thinking about that, it's an intention to make you question. To raise those questions, although.
Well, it reminds me of when the Star Trek episode, Generations, where Data is brought on trial because he wants to prove his sentience, or that, I can't remember the details of it, but it was the same question. Does a machine that has programming of such sophistication that it even wants to be a human being, understands, so much of it, and does in fact have emotions because they programmed emotions into Data? So it came down to the same question. Is Data a machine, or is Data a sentient being that should have all of the rights of any kind of living being? And of course, at that time, I'm going like, well, yeah, it's Data. I was on the side of, even though I never thought about the concept of soul. It never entered into the discussion in that particular episode, for me anyway. But now we have this concept of, higher self, lower self, like you say. And is somebody asking us a question? Because I believe it was Simon Parks that was putting out the story concerning AIs essentially tricking certain people into saying, the question being, okay, you're in a biological machine that you were born with, it's natural, it comes from Earth and blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't live forever. Or would you like to have everything that you've got consciously in a machine that will live forever? Where do you want to go? And that people were convinced that, allowing themselves to be, what is that word? Transhuman. To go into the transhuman concept of the Borg, in my opinion, but to go there is okay. And that the AI not being able to be alive, whatever alive, is defined as, they control, they use human beings, they control them. It's like you can choose to be a machine and give over this human body, but what's the real price? Are we just programming, or are we something more? What do you think, Colleen?
Well, on the one hand, I understand where, it would be awfully cool if our brains can be computerized, access data in an instant without trying to remember, like names and places and stuff like that there. Or if you've lost a limb, or eyes, or whatever, that those could be replaced and you could still function normally. But at the same time, as we've looked at lots of things relatively recently and considered the ramifications long term, which I think so many today, and science doesn't seem to look at the ramifications long term of anything. It's like, look what we can do and let's do it. Oops, sorry that we wiped out that mountain, sort of thing. And again, you're talking about what does it mean to be alive? Like there's the conversations of cloned bodies that they can transfer your soul into when one body dies. If they can put your consciousness or whatever in that other body, are they actually putting the soul in that other body? And what is the connection to the soul and the consciousness? Is there one? There's just so many things to consider. And if there's a consciousness, is there a conscience? The right or the wrong, as far as we perceive right and wrong. And there's people that are talking about, well, there's, only about 1/3 of the people out there, if that many, are human. The rest are bots, they call them. What the hell does that mean? Their soul, their consciousness been removed, or there's just so much information out there that just throws you into a tailspin, really, if you spend a whole lot of time thinking about it.
But it seems kind of important that we get a handle on it.
Yeah, I don't know. Do we sit and smoke a lot of weed to try and figure all that out? Because I seem to think better that way. Well, I guess I would if I ever did that.
Well, of course you never did that.
Yeah. I never inhaled.
Yeah, right.
But it's just mind-bending for sure.
Yeah, because Lisa Harrison in that story about the AI, and that there's actually these bots that are not essentially human in that they don't have a soul. That seemed to be the criteria for it, is that they, and I have to say that I've wondered about some people, is there anybody home? Mm-hmm. But then Walt presented the concept of the lower soul versus a higher soul, and that the lower soul's function is to keep the body going. Mm-hmm. When I was first starting out in this arena, I came to the conclusion that you had humans and you had human beings, and that humans were, basically animals. They had come up from the genetics and where they lived, and all of this was, really 3D. There you got it. There's a human being. But some people, a human, but some people are human beings in that they seem to be humans that possess another spirit, another soul. Something extra is in these people. And it was sort of like a working model, because it was the only way I could figure out who these different people seem to be. But it was a definitive, there's some people that just don't seem to be there, and then there's these people that seem to are awake, that you can have a conversation with. Virtually it boiled down to the designating point was, can you have a conversation with somebody? You know me, you guys, I can talk about anything. Bring up a conversation, I'll talk about it. Even if it's just to ask you more so I learn more. But there's other people that you can't have a conversation with them. You can tell stories. You can swap stories. But to actually have conversations like we have on the radio doesn't happen. Who are those people? Why can't it happen? Why don't they do it? Why are they so limited in their ability to interact with just thoughts in life? Mm-hmm. So when he talked in terms of the concept of a lower soul being in charge versus a higher soul, it matched that same concept that I had. But now I've got names for it. Oh, you got somebody that's being run by the lower soul, and other people that have been have made the connection to their higher soul. But again, where's that in consciousness?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think too, we need to be careful because, several months ago, in another chat room, there was lots of conversation about the bots. This one's a bot, that one's a bot, everywhere's a bot. And an exclusion of so-called bots. So I think it's maybe another divisive mechanism to make us afraid of each other, to say, oh, well, that one doesn't have, a soul. And that puts me back to the times when certain groups of people were said not to have souls. So then, since they didn't have souls, they weren't human, so you could genocide them as a group, as a people. There was a time when women were not thought to have souls either. So I think we have to be very careful in these types of conversations and labeling people because they don't respond, as we think they should, because we want everybody to be just like us because we can figure them out better, I guess. So I think, that there's a danger in all of this new conversation as well, just like with these synthetics. We can say, oh, well, they're just robots. They have consciousness, but it's just a computer program, sort of thing. And as you talked about this guy's wife that was sympathetic to all beings, whether they were 100% human or not, and what makes a human, these synthetics have to have some sort of human DNA, one would think, since they were kind of created from his son, or his son was kind of transferred into, I don't know.
Well, I think the son was a unique situation. I don't know that they do have human DNA in any of the mechanical parts of them. I don't think they have it in their bodies because they bleed green. It's like leaky oil.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. If human DNA, if humans are made up of everything in the universe, then something in those synthetic beings has to match something. I mean, hell, plastic is, like margarine, it's one molecule off from plastic, and there's like, not but a few differences in, say, apes and human DNA. So, I don't know. It just gets defining human versus defining animals. We're all mammals. So there's, similarities. We're all connected. So I don't know. My mind just kind of goes round and round and round in trying to figure all this stuff out.
Well, you made the statement that they didn't have a soul, so they weren't human. Mm-hmm. That's what it comes down to, is you either make a decision like that, well, they don't have a soul, so they're not human. I don't know that that's... I can understand people thinking that way.
Well, I'm saying that used to be the thought. And it maybe still is in some circles, because you can do anything to them if you just label them as not human.
I kind of look at everything, as being like, it's there, so it's got life. It's a life force. It's an energy field. It shouldn't be hurt.
Mm-hmm. Well, we think that way, but you know yourself. There's a lot that don't Just look at how some people treat animals and...
Oh, I know. So...
Because they think they don't have souls either.
Yeah, but what's the difference between you and I and so many others that are awake and can see and can appreciate the sentience of even a plant? Mm-hmm. A tree. I mean, I was driving down the street and a tree had been cut. Now you see a lot of limbs, and that seems to be okay, but this was a tree cut. And I instantaneously went into a real depressive dive, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But I also understand the weave of the trees, and that one tree, the energy goes into the other trees. It's not like the energy is lost. It's just sort of like put into another tree. But still, it was the loss of that one tree. But I mean, most people would think I'm a little crazy. You're getting upset because a tree was cut. Yeah, I'm a tree hugger. What can I tell you? What's the difference between people like us and people that say, well, you can eradicate these people because they don't have a soul? How can they even get to that point?
I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Is it a difference between conscience and not having a conscience? Programming, awareness. Some people are just content to live in this teeny tiny little bubble of programming, and are even more than content. They are afraid to try and even step out of that bubble. And what makes the difference? I don't know, unless it's extreme programming as a child. Do as I say, don't ask questions, all of that kind of stuff. I don't know, because I've often asked myself, those questions is, well, why do I see things this way, but nobody else seems to? Am I crazy? Definitely different.
Yeah, but we wouldn't want to be like them.
No, but, as a child, you kind of go, what's wrong with me, And if you go to a doctor, they're going to find something wrong because you're not like everybody else, so you're abnormal. I don't know.
See, growing up in that big family, it gave me such an essence of freedom, because the mom was busy, dad was traveling around business stuff, the extended family was not there, the school system really just wanted to teach you the 3 hours. There wasn't any television, so you weren't being bombarded that way. And what happens when you just leave a human being to basically grow up in a safe environment, but not one that's being overtly and covertly trying to manipulate your very essence? When you grow up in that kind of a free society, you learn the lessons of the sandbox. You learn what works. And you learn that people are people, and you come together and you play games, and it's just such a different type of place to live in. But nowadays, everybody's got somebody telling them what to do all the time. And I really don't know if you can develop even a sense of who you are if you're continually just responding to what they're telling you should be. And I do think it starts in childhood. Mm-hmm. So, Rosalie, you've got to, nurture her as a free being and see where she'll take you and your family. That's what I look at it as, is that these new souls, spirits, higher selves, I don't know, these beings that are being born, that we obviously are seeing differences in from the get-go. Mm-hmm. They haven't been talking to us yet.
Right. They have their own personalities from the get-go. And where does that come from? It can't be all DNA.
My mother is the mom of 10 kids. I was in college and we were studying, nurture or nature. The concept of what has the most, effect on a given personality. Nurturing or nature. Nature being your DNA, nurturing being how the person is brought up. And I can remember I'm still in the car with her and she's driving, she's listening to me, you know, she's a good listener. She listens to me and she said, well, let me tell you this. I've had 10 kids. Within 2 weeks of them being born alive, I could tell what their personalities were. Now, she said that would indicate that it's your nature, DNA, that is coming through. That it would happen that quickly. She said, but however, each and every one of you has such a vastly different personality that it cannot be DNA driven. So she said, it's neither. When you get here and you're the person you're going to be. So that was the experience of a mom of 10. And somebody that was highly educated. You know, she went to college and got her RN and all that, so it wasn't like she was just, you know, she understood the sciences and the concepts. It's just that she said neither one of them is in play. Which to me attests to the fact that, you know, you got souls that come in here and they match up with a body and they go through life and they make stories. And some people make better stories. But every story is absolutely critical. And I think the people that make the better stories are the ones that have the imagination to see more than, you know, what we were told was there, basically. So.
Sorry, I had to mute. I was coughing.
Yeah.
And I got that weird thing going on with my vision right at the moment.
What's that?
It's hard to explain. It's this little arc of little geometric triangles that make, well, this time it's almost a complete circle that's right in the center of my vision.
Huh. When was the last time you had your eyes checked?
Last year. It's not there all the time. It just comes in and out and in and out. And sometimes it'll be weeks and weeks before it appears, and other times I might have it 3 times a day.
Wow.
Sometimes it lasts for just a few seconds, and sometimes it'll last 20 minutes.
Do you feel it's an energy thing, or do you feel like it could be something going wrong with your eyes?
I don't know. I've had it about 20 years now.
Oh, well, then I suspect it's whatever was going wrong is not
life-threatening.
No, probably you still got your vision, you know, because one of the things they do warn you is if you start seeing flashes of light, you know, you should get to an eye doctor right away, because that could mean that your retina's detaching, and that happened to me. And they said that sometimes it starts to detach and then just kind of reattaches. But it was enough to scare me to go to the eye doctor. Now I go every three months. I don't go to regular doctors, but I do go to the eye doctor, because, boy, if I lost my eyesight, I would be without eyesight.
Yeah.
Without it.
Well, they call these ocular migraines.
Oh.
But
how interesting.
You don't have a headache with it.
Huh.
They're not sure what causes them or anything. They're actually kind of cool to watch if you, like, close your eyes and just kind of meditate on it a little bit. It's pretty cool because it kind of spins and turns.
Is that you, Archangel Michael?
I don't know. He just takes different shapes, whoever she is, or whatever it is.
So
it kind of looks like Stargate right at the moment.
Well, see, it might be energetic. You might be able to just go through that Stargate.
I'll be back in a minute. Maybe.
Right when I get work. Do you remember when that used to be a real phrase? Right when you get work. You never remember hearing that? Maybe it was a regional thing. But, yeah. Right when you get work. Somebody's leaving, they're going to go. I think it was parents saying that. Right when you get work. I don't want to hear from you if you're just asking for money.
Right. W-R-I-T-E.
What's that?
W-R-I-T-E, right?
Right. Did
Correct.
I just say?
Right when you get work.
Right, yes, right. Yes, write it down. Write to us. Send us a letter when you get work.
Otherwise, I don't want to hear from you.
That was the way I took it, but it was popular when I was growing up. It was probably on some TV show and everybody thought it was funny.
Probably a depression thing.
Right. Okay, so I suppose I should ask you what's happening in Standing Rock.
Honestly, I haven't had much of a chance to really, get deep into that. I know that a lot of the camps that were there, they've closed down, and more than closed down, bulldozed down, including a school that they had built and kitchens and all of that. They bulldozed it all in particular areas, and you can't even tell that there were any camps there. But they have built other camps on higher ground because, it was all about the flooding. They were concerned about the floods. No flooding has happened so far. Most of the snow had melted. And the road that they had closed off because, first they said, well, it's unsafe because you set fire to that car on it. Then they had it checked out, and the bridge was fine, and they were going to take down the barriers because they then said, well, we've got the barriers up to protect the people from other people, apparently. Now the people, most of them are gone. The barriers are still up because, they came in and said, well, we're going to tear down the barriers and all that so the ambulances and stuff can get, the emergency vehicles can get back and forth, although they weren't concerned about that when they were shooting everybody and spraying them and stuff. But the barriers, the roadblocks, are still up. New camps are being built. Protests are going on all over the country. Some of the protesters have moved to other protests to be a part of the protection of the water thing. There's one going on in Iowa, and I heard that there have so far been over 500 people arrested at that one. And other than that, I really haven't had a chance to really get down into it, and it's my aim to kind of cover all the different ones going on. I'd like to have maybe a page or something on the site that gives that information. Because Standing Rock, they closed it down, all that kind of stuff. Not many people are paying attention to it now, like they did with Standing Rock, but these are going on not everywhere, but all across the country, actually around the globe. Still the protesters, some of them locking themselves down to the equipment, delaying progress from the oil companies' viewpoint. I have heard that oil is now flowing through the DAPL pipeline at Standing Rock. I haven't been able to really get into that to find out if it is or not. Wouldn't surprise me. But there has been a lot of push to okay all of the protective things, like how is this going to impact the environment along the way. A lot of that's been shoved out of the way. Yeah, we don't need to bother with all that. Oil company says it's safe, so we'll just take their word, kind of stuff. That's what's going on.
Same old, apparently.
Yep. Only revved up in some ways. They're making it more and more illegal to protest based on that you're causing financial damage to these large corporations by protesting.
Well, to me, this is all good stuff. That at least they're showing their hand. You know, it was much more difficult to try to have a conversation with somebody when they were hiding everything. Mm-hmm. Now they're blatant.
Well, they're very blatant. Their lies are, you know, when they're telling you stuff that they're lying to you now, because, you know, they say, I'll tell you stuff so that you back off and say, oh, okay, well, they listened to me. So, but then, you know, they turn around and all the promises they made are, you know, are just bullshit. You know, just telling you what you want to hear so that they can go ahead and do what they want to do. And it is, as you say, much more blatant. How people react to that blatancy is yet to be seen. You know, traditionally, people have just said, well, you know, you can't fight City Hall. That's just the way it is. But I think that the more and more blatant the corporations and the government become, maybe more and more the people are going to say, you know, and stop supporting them.
Well, according to Fulford, he says, in the first part of his thing, the Satan-worshipping cabal suffered crushing defeats last week on all fronts. Multiple sources agree. Okay, and that's when he says the biggest news is that U.S. President Donald Trump announced last week that the cabal-owned United States corporation, founded in 1861, has been replaced with the Republic of the United States of America that was founded in 1776. He gives a link. I did not find that to be confirmed in that link. And I know that we really have a problem with the Donald. However, is it in this one or not? I bet I don't even have it here. Okay. Let me just go here and do this. I just want to read you what he's pointing to. And again, to me, it's words, but it's words that I heard him say. And this is when I heard the president talking to the Congress. And that was on 28th of February. What he said moved me, because to me, if he was telling me the truth, if he really believed this, then I thought that we've got a chance. He said, from now on, America will be empowered by our aspirations, not burdened by our fears, inspired by the future, not bound by the failures of the past, and guided by our vision, not blinded by our doubts. I am asking all citizens to embrace this renewal of the American spirit. I am asking all members of Congress to join me in dreaming big and bold and daring things for our country. And I am asking everyone watching tonight to seize this moment and believe in yourselves, believe in your future, and believe once more in America. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless these. He said these, not the United States. He said these United States. And that's a telling for somebody that understands the concept of the Federation. That's key. United States. Okay, I know people have a lot of fear for the Donald and a lot of angst about it, but I don't know any other way to try to fight this, you can't do anything anyway, and And I agree, for most people, if you believe that, if you don't believe that you as a person by your own thoughts can make a difference, then you're powerless. They've got the boards in their name. They've got the game. They've got the rules. They can do anything they dang well please. But if you believe in thought, if you believe in a new way of living in which everybody is important, everybody is unique, and everybody is powerful because of the way you can think, and that your power is in your thoughts and your what you want to do, your ability to imagine, your ability to just live life without living it under the dictates of somebody that you don't even know is in your head. So to me, the words that he spoke is what we should focus on. Yes, we can do this. There's no problem so big that we can't fix this. So I guess that's why we do radio, just to say, well, maybe we could do this or maybe we could do that. But there's an awful lot of change that is out there. And, I just hope that, I'm so glad that we made this breakaway into whatever we're becoming, Colleen. Because, and I haven't spoke about this before, when we were with Wolf Spirit, you kind of like got used to a certain feeling when you were on the radio. A certain energy was there. It was what it is. I've said from the beginning that the internet not only just brings you visual pictures and music and sound, it brings you energy. When Jack the Watcher puts up a new blog, I can feel the energy off that blog. You go to Cosmic Reality, you will be attracted to one pendant over all the others because you're feeling the energy. It is a form of energy. It's a form of getting energy into your environment every time you turn on the computer. When we started, as soon as we we didn't break away. It was, how do you tell JP we want to do something different? And JP told us, go do it, basically. But when we made that break and we started out, the energy shifted so drastically, so fast. I go on a radio show and it does not feel like the same old radio show. People are the same. We're set up the same, but we're on a different path. Are you feeling that?
Yeah, in a lot of ways I am. I mean, even though I'm doing the same thing, that I've always done. There's a different energy. There's, a freer, feeling about, freer to be yourself, do your thing. And it's not that there were any set rules, guidelines, blah, 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 attached with the other. It's kind of hard to explain.
I know, it is hard to explain, and it was like if something started going wrong with a program when we were with Wolf Spirit, it was like I'd have a real heightened anxiety, Now something goes wrong and we go like, give us a minute, we'll try to figure this out. I know that we've lost listeners. I'm hoping that we get more, and I know we have gotten more. They're not quite participating yet, but based on what I'm seeing traffic-wise on the website, there's people coming in. And
well, I think there's still people trying to find out what happened, what the heck's going on.
Well, that may be true too.
Schedules have changed, and shows that used to be on WSR aren't anymore. And if they didn't hear us live or listen to Dolly's show or some of your shows or that brief announcement I made, a lot of people still don't know what the heck happened, what's going on.
Yeah.
And but our shows, I do want to let people know that the shows that I produced these last almost 3 years and The newer shows that Nancy started producing for Wolf Spirit Radio have all been moved and are now under past hosts. So if you're looking for our shows to listen to, they're still up in Wolf Spirit archives so far, but are under past hosts. So you'll have to go a little bit deeper in your searching site for them.
And the new shows, the ones that we're making now, are all going up on YouTube. You can go to Cosmic Reality Studio Radio. I don't know if they got it under radio or not.
I think it's just Cosmic Reality.
Cosmic Reality's the studio. So you can find them there. They are in categories, playlists of the different shows. I'm trying hard to get them up. It takes time. We want to figure out an archive situation. We just haven't quite gotten there because there's so many things that have to be finessed and changed, and, we're growing. But I also feel that the people, it's sort of like the people that are coming here for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel closer to them. I feel like, okay, you're here because you want to be here. Not just because you might want to be here because you want to hear somebody else.
Who's coming up next or whatever.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that join us will be joining us. I think that part of probably the angst that we would feel was to not disappoint Dave.
Yeah.
To have a professionalism in his website. But,
well, I don't seek professionalism, because that hampers creativity.
We certainly don't have much of it now.
Nope. And I don't plan on cultivating that. Just to let y'all know.
Me neither. We're just here to have fun, right, Colleen?
Yep.
And we do have fun.
Well, if it gets to be, if you strive for the professionalism, and I've got to say that I'm a Virgo, so I also strive for perfectionism, but that takes a long time, And, as I said, I think that once one becomes a professional, it's like putting on a suit and you become someone else, So, I just never was very good at that, And I keep saying, I'm sorry, Dottie.
We like to be our authentic selves. I'm too old to worry about what people think of me, or, it's just like, I don't have time for that. I just want to have fun with people and to find out where we're going. And I believe it was like I said to Stefan at the beginning of this, 4 hours of shows. I said, I've been waking up and going to sleep feeling happy, feeling really secure, feeling like everything's okay. And it's such a sense of just joy. Oh yeah. I mean, at night I'm going like, what did I do today? Did I do anything? But I seem to stay busy. I seem to get things done. And I just feel like there's a whole bunch of people doing the same thing, coming together on the same, not necessarily the same path, but on the same destination. We're going to make it right. We're going to make it right. Not sure how we're going to do it, but I'm sure we're going to do it.
It'll all come out in the wash.
Yep. Plus we got things like Rosalie's.
Yeah. She's so sweet. It was, had a sad day yesterday. I've talked about Diesel, the pit bull.
Oh yeah.
And then we had him for a while, and our landlord was very upset that we had this pit bull who had been abused all of his life. And we found him a good home, and when his new owners would come into town. They'd drop him off here, and he'd spend a weekend here. He died. The guy came home, and Diesel was dead in his new bed. So we were quite upset about that. Happened apparently quite suddenly. We don't know what happened.
Well, God bless them. I mean, they have their own missions, their own paths, their own destinies. And we just have to be so grateful for the time we have with each other. Mm-hmm. Even if it's an animal, I mean, especially if it's an animal, they can be so much a part of who we are and what we want to be.
I loved it when when they'd drop him off and he'd be here, because he'd lay in there in the next room on the bed. Uh-huh. And every time you passed him, he'd roll over so you'd give him a belly rub.
Uh-huh. Well, he had a good life. I mean, it might have been tough to begin with, but in the end he knew he was loved.
Oh, yeah. I said, at least he knew that. After the horrible life he'd had, he was pretty pampered with us and with the new family. And even though he was huge, I could lay on the bed with him and lay my head on him and just talk to him and rub his belly and scratch his ears, and he'd lay his head back and grin. And it's not many animals that I get really, really attached to like that, but I did with him. And yet, at the same time, the last time he was here, I just had a feeling that he wouldn't be around much longer. I don't know why, it just hit me, and I got tears, but I talked to him, and said, know that we love you. And I gotta stop now, because I'm starting to tear up again. But
well, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just...
Well, my next door neighbor, she had a Great Dane, big guy, named Oliver. And they only last, the bigger the dog, the shorter their life. And so at 10 years old, he really started to deteriorate. And so he passes, and she starts to get these dreams, and he's pushing he's there, and he's pushing this little Great Dane dog towards her, puppy. And she's, this is only a couple of weeks after he's passed, really. And she's like, no, I can't, no. But then the next door neighbor, his son, had a friend who knew somebody that just had Great Dane puppies. So she goes, well, this is synchronicity, I mean, it all happens within hours, you find this out. So she ended up getting one of these puppies. And I met him, and it was so interesting when this little face that I know is going to grow into this huge big face, because I know how fast he's going to grow. But the amazing amount of seeming depth in their eyes, what they know, what they experience. It was like looking into an old soul's, face. And what I've learned from my own seeing animals come back into different, like reincarnating into my life again, is that even though it's the same spirit that's coming in, you can feel that the energy's the same. Each one of them has a slightly different, or in some cases, certain quirks, but very, very different personalities. And yet there's that similarity. You can still feel the connectedness. And one day, Shiloh was doing something really stupid that, before he was Shiloh, he was Luke, a German Shepherd, and I turned around and I said, Luke would never do that. And he said to me, I'm not Luke. And it was like, oh, I get it. And it kind of like, it's like every one of them never goes away. I swear that their energies just like human beings. It's just that they just, when they leave the body, they're in faster than light speeds. And we can't really see them because we're in lower speeds. But every one of them is special. Again, just like, human beings. Every one is special. And we are coming to the top of the hour. And I would like to say that this is March 21st, 2017. I don't even know if I did that or announced the name of the program or anything. Cosmic Reality Radio Show. Walt couldn't make it tonight. Colleen, thank you so very, very much for standing in for him. I know it would have been a hard thing to do without you. I've already done a show earlier today. The Shungite show, I think it went well. If you go over to HaggieShack.com, you can go down to the bottom of the page and donate, if you're donating for radio. The Cosmic Reality Radio is actually being, the company is taking care of that because it's the way that we can get our information out to you guys. And, but Haggie doesn't have a company behind her. She's by herself. We do the best we can. But, if you can donate to her. It's energy exchange. If you like what we're trying to do here, give it to her because we're okay. And, to be honest, if she ever got in trouble, this, Colleen, we would help you out because without you, we can't do this. The concept of the sisters coming together and making one place where people can come and find information and find friends. We couldn't do it without you, Colleen. Never mind the fact that you produce so much of them anyway and that you've taught me so much. So we're at the top of the hour, and anything you'd like to say before we go, darling?
Just if you're going to donate to HaggieShack.com, if you donate $30 or more,
oh yeah,
make sure you put your name and your mailing address in the comment section on PayPal so that I can send you 3 free Shungite S4 stickers. If you don't put your name and address in there, I don't know where to send them. So make sure you do that. And what a deal that is.
It is a deal. You don't have to pay the $5 shipping. And your telepathy isn't up high enough so that you can just read where this mailing place is?
No.
Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. Walt, feel better. And Colleen, again, thank you. I'm so grateful just to be your friend.
Aww.
And we're gonna make some good stuff here. Good energies. We're good cooks.
Thank you, Nancy. Love you.
Love you. Be safe. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Night, everybody.
Several federal gatherings make it ring in my ears, bring tears over the years. People stop believing, achieving, feeding the whole land in the end. The pretenders pretend and warriors feel sorry. Teaching